So to begin, we'll really consider kind of like why visibility matters now. This has been a topic of conversation for quite a long time. NetFlow's like 20 years old. But as time has gone on, what we've really run into is we have lots of different sources of truth about the network that can be both on-prem and just traditional flow logs that are coming from our infrastructure, our routers and switches and firewalls at a basic level, kind of the simple five-tuple, source, destination, source port, destination port, and protocol that we're used to for a network observation. But where these are starting to be sourced from different places, they're often being routed to kind of their own unique views. And before you know it, you kind of end up panning around between, this is where I have visibility into what the distributions layer's doing. This is where I have distribution or visibility rather into kind of firewall auditing or Cloudflow visibility. And ultimately, we end up kind of bouncing around between all these tools. And from a user perspective, it can be inconvenient or annoying, but it's doable. Have several UIs, you kind of get a window next to a window. It's not the best case scenario, but it can certainly get you through. Really, the problem with this comes down to the input domain problem in general. So the input domain in the case of UI is, different tools have the data. So however their view layer is orchestrated is really going to be what you have available for accessing that data. So again, slightly inconvenient from a human perspective, but not kind of a showstopper. Really, where this becomes important to consider are the analytics that are running on these platforms. So when you have, the entirety of the network, if it's in a hybrid model, ultimately being observed and reported on at different nodes and different points, you end up with a situation where there might be an algorithm on one platform that's reviewing all of the traffic, looking for, say, a reflective DDoS attack. But another platform considering data from a different segment of the network that might have either a slightly different algorithm or no algorithm at all to consider those problems. So again, it's really kind of parsing through that idea of, multiple UIs, obviously not ideal, but doable. But really at the analytic level, having your input domain fractured means you have separate analytics looking at different data and ultimately coming to different results. So when I think about visibility, the word really implies that we're like looking at stuff. But ideally, it's really this process of providing input data to analytic stacks that can really review the data at the speed at which it's happening. There's a lot of analogies out there between like human reaction time and the speeds that things are actually happening on the network, and they're logarithmically different. So the amount of time it even takes a person to kind of notice something has happened allows for hundreds, if not millions, of network transactions to happen in that same period of time. So really considering the analytics side of your input domain is really important, and making sure that one place that's running analytics against that traffic does have visibility across all of the available input data.